Hello and welcome to this week's Strange Pathways. I am your host, Scott Mort. I hope that you are having an absolute wonderful week. I'm having a bit of a rough day. Actually, a rough couple of minutes. I'm sure that many listeners have heard my cats. They're even up on the Facebook page. Head on over to the Strange Pathways Facebook page. You'll see pictures of my cats. So I've got one cat, Isaac Newton. And I named him Isaac Newton because he likes to experiment with gravity. He likes to make sure stuff falls. Well, I was enjoying a nice Mike's Hard Lemonade, a blackberry pear. That was it right there. And Isaac Newton, he decides to get up right as I'm starting to record this. He decides to get up next to my computer and he spills part of my Mike's Hard Lemonade all over my keyboard. Now, thankfully, he didn't spill it on the keyboard that's part of the computer. I record off of a Lenovo Legion laptop. So I'm upset over this. You know, I've locked the cats in the kitchen right now. I'm upset over this. My lovely wife Ariana comes out, tries to calm me down. I decide that I'm going to try to clean out the keyboard with rubbing alcohol. And I figure it goes in. It's good for cleaning off electronics. I'll be able to pour it in, let it dry for 2 days, kick it back on. Everything will be fine. Well, unfortunately, stripped all the paint. I didn't know my keyboard was painted. It stripped all the paint off the keyboard. So, this podcast cost me $10 to record. I did get a new keyboard off Amazon. But you know what? If that's the worst thing that happens today, that's a good day in my book. Our first tale is going to take us all the way back to 1989. A Russian city called Voronezh. Now, Voronezh, it's an industrial city, a lot of factories. It's about 300 miles from Moscow. And it's not a small city. The population is nearly 1 million souls. It's not isolated. It's not in the middle of nowhere. It's big. This is comparable to a city like Minneapolis or San Francisco in our country, assuming that you are listening from the United States. On September 27th of 1989, just around 6:30 in the evening, people started seeing something. They saw a glowing, deep red, egg-shaped object. They thought this thing was about 45 feet wide, about 20, not quite 20 feet high. And this craft, it starts to circle this park. It's called Levoberezhny's Park. It's not hundreds of feet up in the air either. This thing is only 40 feet above the ground. It's actually messing with the grass. It's blowing the grass back and forth on the ground. And then, pew, the UFO just flies away. Everybody kind of looks around and goes, "Did you see that?" Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. And then just minutes later, it returns. Now this thing is hovering near a group of about 40 adults, but it's also near a group of grade school children. In this group of children, you know, there's Vasilya Surin, Yulia Shokolova, Lenya Sadukina, Aloysha Nikonov, Vova Startsev. They're all playing soccer. So we don't have a whole bunch of anonymous people. We have individuals that were willing to come forward with their names and say that the following happened. This object is still hovering, and a hatch on the underside opens. Inside are odd, long-armed, no-neck, 9-foot-tall entities, and they have a knob-like head. They're clad in silver jumpsuits, bronze boots, and these things are so massive, they fill the hatch opening. On its small head, 3 glowing eyes. The 2 outer eyes are whitish, but the center eye, which is just slightly above the other 2, it's bright red and swiveling around like radar. Their words, not mine. Swiveling around like a radar. These creatures have this disc-like object attached to their chest. And these creatures, they're just kind of looking back and forth. They're kind of looking at the ground below them. And then they seal the hatch. The craft begins to descend. And it lands. This craft is so heavy. There's a poplar tree near it, and the craft gets up against this poplar tree. This poplar tree is bent permanently. The object then hovers about 5 feet off the ground. And then these 4 legs come out. And for its massive weight, for its size, this thing lands very softly on the grass. The alien, the 3-eyed, 9-foot-tall alien, walks out of a hatch that opens. And then 2 more of its kind walk out with it. They're walking with this very heavy gait. And then they're followed out of the craft. A little box-like robot. Push buttons on its front side. One of these massive 9-foot aliens. They adjust the controls on the robot's chest. And this seems to make it able to walk around in Earth's gravity. These creatures then do something which I find fascinating because it's exactly what we would do. They start to take soil samples. One of the creatures makes some garbled sounds. No one can understand what he's saying, but they do get the idea that he's giving the other 2 orders. He's the chief. He's the boss. And a beam of light emerges from his chest. And then in front of this beam of light, there's these triangles and rectangles. It's about 1 foot by half a foot, but it's all these rectangles. It's like he's showing his comrades some orders, some instructions. One of the young children playing there, this frightens him so much. He was probably paralyzed with fear. The poor young man was probably paralyzed, and this is the first time that his body unclenched enough that it allowed him to scream, and that's exactly what he does. He screams. The head alien, the chief, he whips around, and his eyes lock with the young man. This time the freeze is unnatural. The boy is stuck in a position that it looks like if you're not moving, gravity should kick in and you should fall, but he's not. This is not fear paralysis. This is technology. The rest of the crowd panics. And then the witnesses, they all verify this. The UFO, the aliens, disappear. Blink of an eye. But this isn't over. This is not over. Far from it. The crowd is there. They're stunned. They're talking to each other. They're looking to their friends, their fellow humans, trying to figure out exactly what just happened. 5 minutes later, the UFO, the aliens, instantly reappear. One of these creatures is now carrying a tube about a foot in length, and it aims this tube towards a 16-year-old boy, and this beam shoots out. The teen disappears, vanishes. The crowd erupts in terror. The creatures, they just get back in the UFO. It pulls the legs into itself, and it begins to lift off the ground. As it's lifting, each time it gets a little bit higher, it gets a little bit faster. And it starts to fade away from sight. And then that teenager, the one who disappeared, the 16-year-old boy, reappears. Thankfully, the Soviet government takes this extremely seriously. They send scientists, they send government agents, reporters. As more and more of the residents of Voronezh are being interviewed, it turns out this craft wasn't just seen on the date in question, but many times between September 21st and beyond, into October 2nd of 1989. Scientists are sent out to the scene where the landing happened, and they found the depressions in the ground shaped like a large rhombus. They were so deep, these had to have been made about something weighing several tons. Scientists also found background radiation anomalies, magnetic field anomalies. There are claims that something unearthly, some weird substance was found at the scene. They thought at first this was deep red sandstone, but whenever they did a mineral analysis, they found that whatever this was can't be found on Earth. This case has become known as the Russian Roswell. It's been debunked and re-verified and debunked and re-verified over and over and over. And there are those that say that these aliens never returned. However, let's flash forward now. 1991. To be more specific, October 14th, 1991, in Omsk, Siberia, Russia. A local boy, Zheniya X, is what this boy has decided to go by. He was visiting a friend, and he decided to walk through the field of a local kindergarten school to return home. He's walking through this field. It's quiet, probably not hearing much except for birds and wind. And then he hears this loud whistle behind him. Zheniya X turns around and he sees two glowing globes. One of them is white, the other one is red. Zheniya X is frightened. He is scared. He begins running away, takes a few steps, then he feels a slight knock on his back and stops. That white globe, and it's not a small white globe, it's several meters wide. It's hovering over Zheniya. And then a creature emerges from the globe. 3 eyes. 3 eyes. 4 fingers on its hand. The creature approaches the boy, takes him by the hand, and calms him. And both the boy and the creature are sucked into the craft. Inside the craft, there's a screen and an armchair. The creature sits the little boy, Zheniya X, sits him down in this armchair. The alien then touches Zheniya's face with an object, and the boy loses consciousness. He awakens a while later. The aliens start to have a conversation with him. They tell him they would use sounds and that he could answer them just by thinking of the answer. The boy does not remember a lot of the conversation. Bits and pieces. That's it. He does remember that their crafts can change shapes. The aliens say, "Would you like to go for a ride?" As long as you're in this situation, you should probably say yes, and that's what Zheniya does. The globe ascends. It makes a small circle over the city, and then Zheniya is let out near a club. As Zheniya is walking away, the aliens go, "Hey, we'll meet again next Sunday. Bring us some bread and water this time." The little boy runs home. He goes, "Mom, Dad, you're not going to believe what happened. I was walking through a field. A 3-eyed alien talked to me." And of course, his parents don't believe him. But they're worried about what he may do. They keep him home that Sunday. The boy grows very, very anxious. He's pacing back and forth. He's fidgety, looking out of his bedroom window continuously. That night, he didn't sleep well either. Zheniya wakes up several times in the middle of the night, looks out the window into the darkness. In the coming days, the boy Zheniya starts prophesizing, delivering a religious message, saying, your country has made a mistake by diverting out from the church, and now is a favorable time to correct this mistake. I don't have to draw the similarities here, do I? We have three-eyed aliens using tech that can affect the consciousness of humans, the appearance of them, freeze them. Are the creatures that Zheniya encountered the same creatures that landed in Voronezh back in '89? I do wonder what would have happened if Zheniya would have brought bread, water, if he would have met them. I get the feeling that if Zheniya would have gone out there again, we probably would never have heard from him. This would be one of hundreds of thousands of missing persons cases. I think it's become very obvious. I do not trust these entities. Something seems off. If you have this message, why deliver this message to one single child? Why would you cause terror, almost a full-blown riot, in a park? I don't trust them. And I'm sure there are those listening right now, they're going like, but Scott, the message. Your country has made a mistake diverting from the church. And I'll argue that it's not so much about that message, but where that may have taken people, where that may have taken society. I heard it said once that it's not enough to just believe in God, because even the devil believes in God. And I'm not here to push religion on anybody. I'm not even going to tell you what my religion is. I believe that an atheist has just as many rights as a Christian, as a Jew, as, quite honestly, a Satanist. I'm friends with a gentleman who is a Satanist. He is a nice man. I'm friends with Christians. I'm friends with Jews and atheists. I'm friends with them because they're nice. Because I consider them to be good people. If I may go on a slight tangent here, maybe that's what belief in religion is for. Maybe if people would spend a little bit more time talking to each other, comparing their faiths, going, well, my faith believes it's wrong to kill somebody, and your faith believes it's wrong to kill somebody. And that guy's faith over there, he believes it's wrong to kill somebody. And here's 10 more faiths that believe it's wrong to kill somebody. Then we know that must be true. That is a universal truth, that it's wrong to kill somebody. Maybe if we'd start talking to each other like adults, like brothers, maybe we'd get to the truth sooner. Our last tale comes to us from the amazing phantomsandmonsters.com. Lon Strickler has built an amazing site. It's one of the few sites that I go to every single day. And this case, it really grabbed my attention. It fascinated me. This is an account that was sent to Lon Strickler from Marcus Ellis. He's a member of the Phantoms and Monsters 40 research team. Now, Marcus was in the Delta National WMA in Sunflower County, Mississippi. This is an area that's known locally as the Long Bayou. Now, in the Long Bayou, there's an area called Hell's Gate, and it has been known as a hotspot for the strange, the odd, the paranormal. Now, if you want to read this email, it's over at phantomsandmonsters.com. But essentially, it goes like this. Marcus is in this wildlife management area, this WMA. And he's been going at this now for about 2 hours. That's really not a long time to investigate. He's starting to feel that, okay, I know what I'm doing here now. Nothing unusual is happening. He's by himself. Not only is there no one else in his team, but there's no one out there. He's seen no tire tracks. He's seen no footprints. It's been like this for a day or so. He's alone. He'd parked in a small parking area, and he's taken photos, shot a couple of videos, done a few Bigfoot calls, no results. He's so far into the woods, he's not hearing the sound of machinery, no engines, nothing man-made at all. He's checked the main road a few times. Never a sign of anything or anyone. All he's hearing is wind, birds, insects, frogs. That's it. Just the sounds of nature. He decides, okay, nothing's happening here. I'm going to walk up this road one more time. I'll maybe film a little clip for my YouTube channel. I'm going to head home. Walks a few yards. And then he realizes, sound-wise, the insects, the birds, other wildlife, it's not gone, but there's a huge diminishment of volume. He looks to his right, doesn't see or hear a thing. He swings the camera around to his left, the direction he drove in from, and he saw something down the road that shook him up. About 300 yards down the road, just a football field, there's a huge, dark, black something filling the middle of the road. It's tall. It's jet black. It's square. It's huge and square. He said it felt like he was looking at a big pickup truck blocking the road, and it was heading his way. This scares him. He kind of picks up his pace. He goes to his SUV. He chucks his gear in the back seat and gets up the road. He looks out his driver's side window to his left. It's gone. There's nothing there. Nothing. He's stunned. And then something feels off. Something in his gut is telling him everything is bad right now. The hair on the back of his neck is standing up. He pulls out onto the road, heads back the way he came in, where this box thing had been sitting. Kind of slows down. Doesn't see any tire tracks, no ATV tracks, no vehicle of any type had been back that way. He makes his way to the entrance of the WMA, drops off his visitor slip, looks behind him. The only tire tracks coming in and going out are his. That's it. Nobody else has been in there except for him. He does get the feeling that what he saw was not organic, that what he saw was technological. He has the curse of a paranormal investigator. He knows all these stories. So he's thinking about like the box objects that the Sherman family reported over in the Skinwalker Ranch in Utah. And he's going, is that what I saw? Or was it a pickup truck? Or he's not certain. He has this feeling that what he saw, he was not supposed to see. And that he's fortunate that it never got any closer to him than it did. Now, Lon, he says that he's not seen the video. He's not seen screen captures yet. But as soon as those are available, if they are posted publicly, I'll make sure to have those up on the Strange Pathways Facebook site. I do hope we get to see these images. There are so many cases out there where somebody makes a claim and then nothing ever comes of the images. There are so many things that you read about that you never get to see the video from. Going back to the Skinwalker Ranch, there's supposedly video of a portal opening up at the Skinwalker Ranch and a Bigfoot-like entity crawling out of it. Whenever I first read about that, I thought that was amazing. And I couldn't wait until the time that was made public. And it never has, to my knowledge. So I do hope we get to see these images. Absolutely fascinating. Thank you for joining us here once again on Strange Pathways. Be sure to go over to YouTube, click like, hit subscribe, leave a comment, ring that notification bell. It really does help the channel. Head on over to Spotify, subscribe over there. You can find us all over the place. Apple Podcasts, leave us a review. We're even up on Amazon. I didn't even realize we were on Amazon for a little while until one day somebody said, I heard you on Amazon. And it's like, oh, okay, that's amazing. It was a big surprise to me. If you'd like to get in touch with us, I'd love to hear your paranormal stories, your theories, your ideas, or even just to say hi. Reach out to us at strangepathwaysmail@gmail.com. Go out there, have a wonderful week. Take care of yourselves and each other.